Welcome to the Mega Critics Roundtable 2023. We have some amazing guests on the panel, and I will not introduce them. I think you know them, but if you don't, we'll have introduction later in the session. But first, I want to start with a icebreaker question, just like last time, to talk about the animal in the room. But I think there's a lot of debate already on this topic, so I don't want to get into that.
This was supposed to be an icebreaker.
I so did not understand what that question was. So
no, I've not reached there yet. So I want to focus on something which is happening, but no one is talking about, which is how much not content, people may not like that, cinema or movies or TV shows is out there. Like every week there's 5 movies releasing, 2 on OTT, 4 TV shows, and it's impossible to catch up on everything. And now we're also maybe I know some of you have been reviewing films and talking about films even before I was born. So you have watched movies where you had nothing else.
I don't appreciate that big.
I wasn't talking about you, sir. I was talking about Suchin.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Josh, not me.
Oh yeah. That could be me too.
So point being that there was a time when you consumed movies and TV shows and everything in, I would say, you didn't have much going on around. Welcome, Suchin. So you were like, you're watching something that was giving you some dopamine rush. You are enjoying it for what it is and writing about it or talking about it. And now there's so much happening, and then social media and TikToks and Reels, and there's so much dopamine rush, and there's so many movies coming out, and it's hard to catch up. And then it becomes like, what is everyone talking about? What is the extreme of it? A film which is just being hated for being so bad, or film which everyone's talking about, so I have to catch up on. And then you have to just quickly put out your thoughts as soon as possible. There's no time wasting. The day movie releases, within hours you have to put out your write-up or your thoughts about the film. So do you think the way of critiquing films or reviewing films has changed and has impacted your way of watching films over the years? Suchin.
I think.
Sorry, Ram, go.
No. I was supposed to. I would love to hear Baddy sir talk about this, because he has been someone who's been reviewing films for 2 decades.
I didn't say that.
I've seen a lot of interviews of his where he said that he would have 3 to 4 days to process a film and then review it. But now I'm sure.
I've talked about this before. When I was writing in print, I'd have 2 days to kind of write a review. Now I have 3-4 hours. So that's the difference. But it doesn't change. I don't think it changes the way you watch a movie. It just changes the way you probably. Hi, Ashamira.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi. So I don't think it changes the way you watch a movie. You still watch a movie the same way, and it enters your consciousness the same way. I just think the way you process it. I still kind of walk around and just kind of try to put on some points and stuff like that the same way. But it's just that I don't have that luxury of sleeping over the movie. I think sleeping over a movie it's a great thing, because you kind of, you kind of wake up the next morning and, you're not like this thing. But I think this has its own, because you are you're kind of putting out, it's straight from the gut to the page. You know what I mean? It's like you're not filtering it too much. So in a way, I think this has its advantages too, because you kind of have it's a thing. The only thing is that sometimes your review gets a little garbled, because you're trying to cram those thoughts all together, and sometimes they don't flow as well as you want to, or as clean as you want to. So you kind of mean something, but then when you read the review later, you might like, oh my God, I should have begun with this point, and then the whole thing would have flowed properly. That's the only drawback of this quick review business. But otherwise, I mean, you have to keep up with the times, right? You can't keep moaning about the old times. So.
Okay. Anyone else wants to add in?
I think I've just been writing for a year, so I don't know how it would impact writing per se, but since there is so much content around, I miss the days when I used to rewatch old stuff. I miss the days when I would just watch something from the 60s, like for purposes of edification, or watch something that I watched something as a child. That rewatching is dying. Like I'm not even able to go to the theater to watch a movie I like for the second time. That is becoming rarer. So there is a problem of, like, say, a recency bias creeping in, and that might, I'm worried it might affect my writing, because I constantly want to watch all kinds of cinema and want to be informed by all schools of thought as much as possible. Yeah, it's affecting my viewing. I wish I could see more stuff. That is not happening as much these days, thanks to the influx of content everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, that all makes sense. From what Batty was saying, my process, I mean, it hasn't changed a ton. I've been writing for about 15 years now. And in those last 15 years, it's pretty much been the same. You know, I need to watch something and the review needs to be available in the next 2-3 days. If it's a regular theatrical release, then usually I'll have, a screening on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and then by Thursday I need to have the thing out. At festivals is different, because at festivals you've got premieres there and things want to get picked up immediately, because there are 15 other people in that auditorium who are writing their reviews, like in the coffee shop in the lobby, and so that's hard for me. At least with theatrical releases, I try to, if I can, bring either my wife or my son with me, so that I can at least have a conversation and talk out some of my thoughts and their thoughts, like on the drive home, so that I can sort of fill in the gaps and things that maybe I saw but didn't recognize as significant until discussing it with someone else. That way, it's still I'm taking their points of view and sort of forming my own opinions about that, but. Festivals are tough. Festivals are always tough, because part of, especially when you're traveling for a festival, part of the thing is there's a lot of other film fans there, and you want to have those conversations and stick around and, talk about movies or just have a drink late into the night. And then you've got to get up the next morning and there are screenings going all day. And so trying to fit in places where I can actually sit down and think, with some sort of deadline, and try not to be the last person writing about a movie that no one has seen yet, except for the 50 or 80 or 100 people in that room, it's frustrating sometimes. Okay. And I feel like sometimes my best writing comes out of that, and sometimes my absolute worst writing comes out of that. And I think it's always the case that when you watch so many films a year, and you're expected to write about them, that they can't all be great. And it's always those ones in the middle that are the hardest. If I love something, it's easy. If I hate something, it's easy. Yeah. If it's fine, it's terrible.
Oh my God, yeah.
What do you say?
And most of the films are made, right? And most of the films fall into that category, the mediocre,
This
that
film
category.
is a film. There are people in it, and things happen. When you go from there.
Yeah.
And to add on to one point, since we're talking about how reviewing films purely from a reviewing perspective, see, sometimes I wish I have that time, I had that liberty to think about a film, sleep over it, and write. Because see, as a reviewer, you're trying to be as objective as possible. You're trying to enjoy the film while also be while also pick as many details as possible. You're also trying to analyze it while enjoying the film. But at times you tend to get carried away. For example, I'll give an example. There was this Tamil film called Dawn that released last year. Okay, I watched the film, 4 a.m. show. It's a simple, fun entertainer. In the end, it becomes a melodrama. The melodrama was working for me. I teared up. So it all worked for me. And then I came out and glowing tweets and all. Thankfully, I didn't review it. Then a day later, I'm realizing that film was, bit incredibly manipulative in a way. The film was the father character in that. I don't want to bring up the word toxic, but he wasn't the ideal father like the film projected him to be. But since had I reviewed that film, it would have been a very instantaneous reaction, right? A day later or 2 days later, as I thought more about the film, that it sank in. So it tends to happen sometimes, but unfortunately we don't have that liberty. And we need to be, we need to try to be good at the job. That's it.
But there's never one see, thing is, a review is a reflection of your thoughts at that point in time. It could change 1 week later, 1 month later, 5 years later. When you've changed yourself as a person, you might see the movie differently. I'm sure there are lots of movies you liked as a kid that you don't like now, or the things that you didn't like as a kid you like now. So, I mean, I wouldn't be so hard on myself. It's just whatever you felt, and hopefully you're substantiating it with some reasoning. So that's all. It's
Can I just ask, was the question, how difficult is it to review when everything is hitting us all at once?
yes, Suchin, especially when someone like you who's like having a review every single day.
Every day? No, I wish. The person who has a review every day is Rahul, and I don't know how he does it. But I think I think the challenge is it's never been harder to stay relevant because of quantity, right? So in a 2-week period, you have Archies coming out as well as, say, a Salar, as well as, let's say, a Veerapan on Netflix, which is sort of the hidden gem that everyone's talking about, as well as, say, a mid-budget theatrical release. And so it's much, and so, you know, you could review X thing, but the other thing is what everyone's talking about. So relevance, I think, has been tricky. If you're lucky enough to have a beat, like my beat is shows, but there are so often times where the movie's what everyone's talking about. So I think that's definitely tricky, right? So how do you cover all the bases of things that people are talking about? On a personal sense, I think the reason it's tricky is it's never been harder, at least for me, to stay with a thing. If you are lucky deadlines-wise to be able to stay with a show, stay with a movie, it feels like everything is working against you now to be able to stay with that feeling. It could be as simple as you walk out of a movie and holy shit, what just happened to me, in a good or bad way. But whether it's social media, whether it's whatever it is, everything is working against you being able to stay in that feeling. And I think that one's tricky as well, because just, you know, whether it's, you know, you want to watch something out of choice or whatever, there's always something else that'll come and sort of dominate the feelings. So I know it's about patience and personal discipline as well, but I think that one's also tricky, where you really have to try and very proactively stay with the thing, because everything is working against grabbing your attention towards whatever else.
Asha Meena?
Okay, first of all, hi. I'm sorry for joining a bit late.
No, it's okay.
So I'm assuming that's the question, as in to how is it tricky to review things when there's so much? And I think it's a mix of what Abhi, Suchin, and Josh were saying, as in like for me it's a mix of content fatigue, where there's too much for me to watch. I really want to watch a lot, but I don't have the mind space to watch it. And then there's also this pressure to constantly, even if you're not reviewing it, there's the pressure of staying relevant. As he was saying, you know, there are people talking about it online, and therefore, even if you're not writing a 700-word piece on it, at least put a few tweets, you know, or put an Instagram post or a reel or whatever, so that, you know, you're still part of that conversation. And there's also this pressure to have an opinion in the first place. Like, there are films I don't want to have an opinion on, and you know, just sit back, enjoy for what it is, and go home and sleep. That's it. But you know, because we're in this profession, and you worked. I mean, I've written for like 8 years now. So there's also this expectation to have an opinion about every film, and it's immediate, right? And so it's also a thing about you're the person people come and ask, oh, how is it? What's happening? And then it's just the second show or the third show. And because I'm freelancing right now, so it's a lot of things together, actually, which is making reviewing tricky. But I think it's a very personal choice that I've made to not worry about relevance, not worry about being part of the conversation, and just be honest to what you really want to do. If I really want to say something about some film, I will put it out there. Otherwise, I'll just be like, it's okay, fine. There are other people doing it. You don't have to worry yourself about it. And I also feel that my entire perspective towards reviewing is also changing a bit because I'm also writing right now, and when you start writing your own stuff, you approach films in a completely different vantage point, and then that has also been a personal challenge for me to keep that apart and not bring that in when I review. So But yeah, the biggest. And then there's also this additional challenge of having opinions that don't conform with the mainstream. And I think that's one consistent struggle we've had we've spoken about every year. Every year at the round table, or whenever there's someone talking about reviewing in the first place, especially if it's a big film that has a star or has a certain hype, and you do not confirm with what the majority is saying, and then there's obviously trolling and harassment and all that. So yeah, you kind of get, after a while you're kind of used to it. You either know what's going to happen or what won't, so it doesn't hit you as much as possible. I mean, the tricky part, it doesn't feel as tricky as it used to. But right now, the biggest challenge for me is content fatigue, because there's just too much to watch. I still haven't caught up with so much that I really want to, especially in terms of international releases, which I don't review consistently. So to just have the time to watch things that you want just for the sake of watching. We all got into this because we love films, not exactly wanted to make a profession out of it or anything. But so that I sort of miss. I feel like I don't have enough time to watch things that I just enjoy watching, and or the mind space for it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think what she's trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Salar is a disappointing film, and I think all of us agree. So good.
Every panelist have their own opinions, guys. Everyone doesn't believe it.
Apart from that film, we all agree on that film. Thank you for that.
I actually walked out of Salar. Like, I watched the afternoon show of Salar before I joined this, so fresh in my mind right now. But it's not just Salar. In general, I've discovered that I generally have very non-mainstream opinions. So I've been on the other side a lot. So now I'm used to it. And now I think people are also used to it. now they've realized, okay, she'll come from this perspective or she'll come from yours. Good for me.
Hello, Vishal sir. Welcome.
Hi, Vishal sir.
Hi.
Sorry.
Vishal.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome. So what do you think?
About what? Salar.
No. So the other question was, there's so much content around every weekend. Like, does that change how you review things, and it's not giving you enough time to think about a movie and the whole process?
Yeah, man. Like, I was just talking to Ram, I think today about, I watched Parking. There's a Tamil movie called Parking. I didn't see it to review it. I saw it like 2-3 weeks after it released, when the theater was practically empty. But it brought back that joy of watching a movie just because you want to watch it, right? Not because you're trying to compete with anybody or because it has to go up on Twitter or anything of that sort, So I missed that. But, there's always so much FOMO on Twitter and Instagram that you're late for at least 5 shows, So I don't know. So I just want to go back to that COVID period where there's literally only one thing to watch 1 week. I don't want this 8 movies and 3 shows that I'm already late to, apart from other roundtables that I'm late to.
Just adding to that question, do you think when you're watching 1 or 2 movies, and when you're watching 5-6 things at the same time, the benchmark of what you think is working in this film is actually better than the others, not comparing, but as a film itself is changing. Like, if you would have seen a film alone, just without anything, you would have enjoyed it a lot more. But because you're watching it with other films which are varying in its content and the way they are made, and suddenly you feel like, oh, this one is much better. I felt much better watching it than the other one. And just because of that,
I actually hate myself for that, because I feel that it happens a lot to me, especially when you watch 2-3 films a day. You end up feeling, oh, idukku adu paravala, this is better than that. It's better than the previous film I watched, or your review completely. Your perspective, opinion on the film completely changes by what you watch later or before. And I really, really dislike myself for doing that. And I've gone so hard trying to just box feelings or box thoughts. So it's because I feel that's not a fair thing to do to a film. and I don't think it's a fair. I don't think it's the right way to approach a film as well, because but it's very hard to avoid, and it's also a case of, I mean, even if you're not watching multiple pieces of content per day, it's still very hard to manage expectations, especially with Twitter and social media. As Vishal was saying, if you're late even by one day, you have a flood of opinions already online, which means that you either have to shut yourself off, make yourself inoculate yourself to all those opinions and then watch it, or find a way to not get affected by it. So and I think as a reviewer, that's very important, because as hard as it is to not, I mean, I feel you can't watch a film in vacuum also. I mean, it is a product of its time. It is product of the conversations we're having, the social political climate right now, a lot of things, right? So you can't really judge a film just by, like, basically, yeah, in a vacuum. But it is also important to not judge it with another film, or like, the star's previous film. Like, I've heard this so many times recently, like his previous film was worse than this, so therefore this is a good film. That is really not the barometer, guys.
Ashwini, come on, Varis wasn't that bad. Come on.
Oh my God, I'm actually bringing no, I am not talking about any particular star. So, but I feel that barometer is very reductive, and in general will bring down the median or the mean of film quality in itself. So it's very hard to keep away. I hope I want to hear how other people are doing it so that I get ideas.
We'll go to BR sir because he's been doing it for the longest time.
For a very long time.
No, I just took a decision the beginning of this year, and I've been fairly good with it. I just completely went off social media. I just go there and post my stuff so that other people get to know. Until about a few months ago, while I was posting, I'd find a bunch of things that I'd retweet to increase the traction of the piece. But the last 2-3 months, I haven't been doing even that. I just literally post and then get out of there. So I'm blissfully unaware of whether people are praising me, whether they are trolling me, whether they are, whatever they're doing. Plus the conversation that they're having about a movie. Because one of the things that from the day one that I started reviewing and till today is very important is I do not get influenced by anybody else's thoughts about a movie. I may be politically wrong. I may be not getting the movie in the context it's done. I may not know what the director tried to do because he gave an interview that went viral, and that interview has the core of or the key of the movie or whatever it is. But it's been very, very important that whatever I put out is just first. Of course, I'll read reviews later and see things later, but that's one thing that's remained something like a. I don't mean this in a very philosophical way, but it's just been very important that I put out because I think it's very important to not be influenced while writing a review, and to be very true. And what happens is that's why I don't take anyone with me while going for a movie, because even if somebody nudges you and says, "Oh my God, that sucks," or something that can seep into you, and like a scene which you might have otherwise enjoyed, now you suddenly start second guessing yourself, saying, "Oh, is that scene really working?" I don't know. It's like, you don't want to get that noise into your head at all. And I'm not affected by random people I don't know, but by people I know, when they talk about stuff, because I know them, I tend to get into a conversation with them, and I stay away from it. And it's never been. I've actually had a good time because I've actually gained a lot of time. The other thing that Ashamir was talking about, which I do, is I never watch, except at film festivals, I never watch more than one movie a day. So I watch a movie, do a review, then watch a couple of episodes of something on Netflix or something like that. So to kind of completely polar opposite, get a good night's sleep, and then watch the other movie. For example, today I watched and reviewed a Mohanlal film called Neru. It actually released 2 days ago. But that was Donkey Day. So, I guess the sensible thing would have been to review to watch both the films back to back, and then do the reviews and then something like that. But I can't do that. I can't. I watched Donkey, did the review, came back home. I watched Salar yesterday, did the review, came back home. And today I watched Nehru, and I basically do a bunch of other things, whatever unrelated to movies. And so that way I feel I don't have that one movie seeping into another issue at all. I mean, it may happen unconsciously, but at least I'm not feeling it the way Ashraf Mira does, because I'm not because that movie at that point happens to be a fairly clear movie. I don't know if I'm explaining myself right, but
Yeah.
But I have to say that is the worst feeling, the existential crisis of watching something, not liking it, everyone else loving it, like people you respect, critics and stuff. That is the worst feeling, and you have to like check that something's not wrong with you. Am I missing something? It happened to me a few times this year. Like Fuzzy on Amazon is a show that didn't work for me at all, and a lot of people loved it. And it happened to me with Salar. You know, that's a film I was so ready to love, and then I didn't. And then, you know, like I know that Vishal and Ram liked it, and I just, you know, you feel FOMO, and then you're like, something is wrong with me. But
I didn't like Salar as well, so.
Thank you. I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. There's many of us. But you just have to trust yourself. It really is just a lot of trusting yourself. But that's the one. That's the one where I think it's important. Timing. You mentioned timing before. You really want to have your opinion in a vacuum. That's why in an ideal world, everything is first day, first show. Everything is a press screening. It really is a conversation with yourself. You want to formulate how you feel about a thing, and then expose yourself to the world. And that's very tricky. Like, I know for a fact, if I watch Salar 2 weeks later or whatever, that, you know, it just, there's all the baggage and you're unpacking the hype and all that kind of stuff. So in a perfect world, everything is as soon as you can see it. So you figure out your stuff before the world, you know, just throws everything at you.
Yeah, that's why I love the way it happens in the US, because they have press screenings, multiple press screenings, 2 to 3 weeks in advance of the movie, and then they give an embargo. So if I'm in New York, I have an option to watch like one of 3 or 4 press screenings, whichever is my convenience. And then I just write the review and keep the thing. So I'm not in conversation with anybody else but myself about that movie. And that's just brilliant, because you really, I mean, I guess I see this a little differently from Ashamira. I want to be in that vacuum. I want to be with just myself. I don't want to be like in conversation with other people while I'm writing the review. Later, my review goes into the blog, whatever, the web, the internet, and then that's fine. That's like, you know, you kind of, then it becomes part of the conversation, whatever. Then that's different, because but what I put out, I don't want it colored in any way as much as possible, which is why even with trailers and all, I try not to watch them. Teasers, trailers, you know, except the ones that you really, really cannot resist. Or sometimes you're stuck in a theater and they actually show the trailer and you can't do anything. You don't want to be dramatic and close your eyes and start like humming loudly to yourself and then scare the people away around you. So that's like...
I have a question to this. You have been saying for long that you don't watch trailers, but now that you're doing a lot of pre-release interviews, aren't you forced to watch every trailer?
No, I don't watch. At pre-release interviews, why do you want to watch trailers?
Like, at least to get a gist of the film. Tonality of
you know the gist of the film. You just open the wiki page and that gives you enough stuff. But anyway, the point is like there's generally... see, the point is that if it's a teaser, I don't mind watching because it's just a series of look kind of a thing. But trailers are tricky things. They give away plot points. And see, when I talk about vacuum, I mean even that vacuum. You know, like try to not know much about it or like while going in, because there are people who say things like, "Oh yeah, that scene where that happened in the trailer." That was so good on screen and things like that. I don't know. I don't like that happening. So
I actually wasn't talking about the vacuum of opinions. I'm talking about the vacuum of relevance in terms of like I cannot review Salar as if it released in the 1980s. Like, you know, I cannot review I don't know, Leo as if it was released in the early 2000s. So I spoke about that vacuum. I mean, it is a product of the times we are in, and therefore it becomes necessary when you want to raise certain points, especially in terms of socio-political context and especially when it's films that are trying to make a point, like Mamanan, or so many other films that have very, very strong themes that they deal with. So I was talking about that interaction. Actually, I also prefer being in a vacuum until I get my thoughts out. Especially when I'm watching multiple films a day, what I do is I take a few minutes in between each films. I ensure that I have a few minutes in between each films. I jot down whatever I feel. Like just put it down there and then go in for the next scene. So even when I'm shooting later, I know what I initially felt, and I can just expound on that and elaborate and probably like polish it a bit, but it's not clouded by opinions of other people. So I've also learned not to second guess myself based on opinions online. Like once you're done, your review's out there, and now you're reading other people's review, and you realize that people who you really respect or you really like, don't share your opinion, or they're giving complete contrast opinion. That doesn't mean I'm wrong in what I'm saying.
And there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a superpower we all need.
Mine's also valid. Yeah. So I've really done that. So I think that's helpful, because then you see the other perspective as a perspective, and then probably get something from it for yourself, expand your horizons. So yeah.
So I think the struggle will be increasing as more and more content comes out. But I think that leads, a good segue to our first question, which I want to ask is a movie you watched in 2023.
This is the third question.
This is the first question.
Yeah.
That was an icebreaker. No, that was an icebreaker.
What were we doing for this now? All this
No, that was icebreaker. The first question, the list I sent you, that which film made you love your job in 2023? Who wants to go
Made me
first?
love my job.
Made you love your job of, reviewing films. That you loved, like the film made you love that I love doing this.
It's ironic that I didn't review that film, but I would say Kadal. It's a Malayalam film
Okay.
that released recently.
spoilers.
And there's that film, there's that feeling that a good film gives you. It just makes your entire day brighter. It just makes your life better.
After watching Salah, everything is brighter than
I'm
it.
so glad that you got that feeling from Salar. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But and it's ironic because I actually didn't review that film. I've not even written about it. But it just made me love the fact that I was in films doing this for a job, and just rekindle that. It once happens, right? Every once in a while, where a film just rekindles your love for cinema. So that kind of a film it was for me. Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
For me, I have like 2 to 3 instances. I'll keep them short. For me, one was Baby.
Yeah.
Controversial opinion. I don't want to get cancelled for the 3rd time in a year. But the point was,
What difference does it make? What difference does it make at this point?
Yeah. So I watched it at a time where I was starting to feel that, okay, I'm not enjoying writing about films week after week, because it's just like mediocrity for months. Nothing to discuss from April to July. April, May, June, July. Yeah. So for 3 months, I had nothing to talk about. And then comes this film that just shook me, because it made me uncomfortable.
Gives you a lot to talk about.
Yeah, which I had a lot to talk about. Like the review it wrote itself. One film, Baby. Second film, I would say Month of Madhu. Same for the same reason. I just had so much to say after a very long time. Like I could, one film I felt rewarded as a viewer, as a writer. I'm like, okay, I get to write about this film. So it was a very rewarding feeling, and also there's this question, right? Do critics make a difference and all? Do you guys matter? Do your work matter? Do even people take you guys seriously enough that they buy a ticket? All these questions are things you keep hearing. But when something like Month of Madhu comes out, and when you write something about it, and people say that, oh, I discovered this film from your review. Maybe I wouldn't have gone to the film if not for this review. That is like, you can see that, okay, I'm making a little impact here. That's that's a priceless feeling. And then Saptasagar Dachayallo, man. Again, I didn't review the film. But then I had a chance to interview those people. Like I think 2 or 3 days after I watched the film, I was still in the trance of the film, and I get a call saying that would you like to interview Hemant Rao and Rakshi Shetty? I'm like, yeah, I love my job. I love my job that I get to talk to the people who gave me this experience. That doesn't happen. It's one of it's such a good feeling, man. It's an amazing feeling. Yeah, these three.
For me, it was Baby at first, for the reasons he's just explained. And I'm a resident critic. Like I work in Hyderabad. Like 95% of my work is just Telugu films. So I review tier 1 films, even the films which like very few people would watch, like the very obscure films. Even I go to those films and I review them. And then on the day Custody released, like Custody was the big Telugu film, but then my editor in Chennai decided to review it. So there was another release called Bhuvana Vijayam. It's a very small film. I saw the trailer by chance. I really liked the concept. It had this Yamraj returning to Earth to pick up a person who's going to die. It's a ticking time clock situation. And then there is a production house with 7 writers. I thought, oh, this concept is very interesting. So it did not even have a press show. I went to some random single screen. There were 5 people in the theater. One of them was the director. The other person was me. I watched the film and then I wrote a review. It was not a perfect film, but it was a very cute film, sweet film. I felt very good. It reminded me of those films with these mythological themes in the 80s and the 90s that came out. And what happened was, after a few months, that film came out on Prime Video. And I get a text from somebody who works in this OTT companies saying that one of the reasons why Prime considered this movie is your review.
Wow.
Oh.
So I was like,
nice.
Arre wah.
Did you ask for a shot? Like a we'll talk.
So that felt really nice. Like whatever little I could do. It feels like your job is not just like, it's like I'm very passionate about writing. I'm very passionate about films, but now it's like, okay, it's also a service. You're also helping out people. So that is a nice feeling.
That's great. Sachin?
So a moment that made you sort of fall in love, like with what you do. I think 2 answers for me. I think for me that question means like any film where you are watching it as a fanboy. It's something that as an audience you would be incredibly excited to watch, and you really do enjoy it. And then your critic brain allows you to be part of the conversation and attempt to have something sensible to say. And I think the 2 ones that come to mind is like Pathan and Jawan this year, where as an audience you're just doing backflips in your head. But also stepping out of the theater, you're also then trying to frame that into and sort of have a meaningful conversation around it. And it's sort of the perfect, everything coming together, every part of you. And taking on from Ram's definition of championing something small, which you feel like you want to shout about from the rooftops because it really needs your might and because it's excellent. I would say School of Lies on Hotstar, which is easily for me the best show of the year, which doesn't get enough love. It's co-created by Avinash Arun. And yeah, so that's the other one where I feel like, that's the one where you want to attach all your might to and really get more attention towards. So
yeah.
Josh?
Well, for me, it's kind of unusual because I work in 2 different worlds, really, or several different worlds at this point. As a critic, there are films. The most recent one that's in my memory is the new Godzilla film, which I don't think you guys have gotten yet.
Not yet, but please do something about it.
Yeah.
But it was I'm a big monster movie fan. Like if you know me, you know that's kind of where I live. Horror movies, action movies, genre stuff. That's kind of what I do. And Godzilla had been it's my son's favorite series. He loves Godzilla films, and the last few for me just hadn't worked. And so going in, I committed to writing about this, and I was just so desperate for it to be good because I didn't enjoy the last few because they were so not the American ones, but the Japanese ones. They were so I felt dry to me, and this one doesn't. So when you guys get to see it, you'll cry. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. It's a movie. It's not just a monster movie. It's an actual film that's made by people who know how to write and make films. And so coming out of that, being able to write about it and share that love, and then I don't know if you guys have been following, but in the U.S. it was supposed to play for 5 days, and then it got it expanded and expanded, and now it's in 2,500 screens, and it's the highest grossing Japanese language film of all time in the US at this point. And no one expected that when it came out. And so being able to do that and be a part of like encouraging people to go out and support this, you know, because if you don't go and see it, then it's not going to get that second week or that third week, or it may not play in your town where it played in, you know, big city like I live in. So that was one thing that was really cool.
Kind of like a RRR moment for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's, well, I had good moments with that movie also, obviously. But another film that, you know, on the other side, I do programming. I'm now doing consulting and marketing for films. And so there was obviously the RRR thing, which I'll leave aside because I've already talked about that a whole bunch. But another one that came out, actually two, that made me feel like I'm making a difference. Like there's something that I'm doing that's really, that makes all of the other stress worth it, was being able to encourage people to go to try out Jiga Thunder XX. And I've been, you know, a huge fan of Karthik's for a long time. And I've, you know, been in conversation with him for a long time, trying to find like just the right thing to sort of push him out, you know, out of the sort of bubble. You know, he lives in that and works in the sort of Tamil film bubble. And he has, you know, even with the Netflix film and with bigger films that he's made, this I think is, I sincerely think this is his best movie. Like I think it's his best film. And I didn't review it because I had already been talking to him about it before that. So I was like, I can't write about it. Like I know you too well at this point. But I was able to push it out to people who don't watch those kind of films, who aren't going to be looking for a Tamil mainstream film, especially one like this that's full. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's a lot of commitment. And it did end up showing up on some lists, and it's starting to show up on some lists because people listened to me, which is crazy enough as it is. But to give them the opportunity to do that, another one that's more of a long game, another long game sort of thing was Nampakal Nerathu Mayakam, which I released in theaters last year, but came on Netflix in January of this year. And that's another one where I've been talking to and been pushing out Lijo's work for a long time. And with Jallikattu, he had a moment, and it was a great moment that we showed it at a film festival, and it went to several film festivals, and it did wonderfully, and was submitted for the Oscar and all that stuff. But it still didn't get like a release push. Like there wasn't it came out in festivals, and then like a month later it was in theaters in the US, and no one knew it was there. And then a month after that it was on streaming, and no one knew it was there. But with this one, I feel like introducing that film to the world made people realize that when he comes back with something else, maybe they should check it out. And that's kind of what Bahubali 2 did for RRR is the same kind of thing. And then what Jallikattu did for Nampakal Nerathu Mayakam a couple of years later, and it ended up getting reviewed and at RogerEbert.com, which is one of the big sites here, and getting ending up on some lists and people really enjoying that film. And I that's the kind of thing that makes all of the stress and all of the people not showing the films I tell them to show, and then finally one catching on, it makes it feel better. It makes it feel like it wasn't a big waste of my time to go after all these films and try and make something happen. So those are different parts of my job that are both been very reassuring that I should maybe not quit this year. Maybe I give it another year and see how it goes.
Bia sir?
I don't know if there's any one. I think the reason you keep going is because, see, it's like somebody said before, I think Ram or Josh, I don't know who, it was like, see, it's those mid films that really bum you out, like that kind of make you like hate your job. But as long as a film makes you think, whether it's something as universally loved as 12th Fail, which is my favorite film of Indian film of the year, and I've seen it multiple times, and it's astoundingly good, or whether it is something as controversial as Animal. See, the point is that does the film give you something to think about, wring your hands about, wrestle with, write write something interesting about Nanpagal. All these films did that. It's like because these are not easy movies to review, and I don't mean that we're all doing great jobs or something. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not the usual. You just list some few things and then say, okay, whatever, somebody did a good job or whatever it is. These are all movies that make you really dive deep into whatever's making them work, right? It's like pulling a clock apart and seeing how the mechanism works. And I think that's what's rewarding. And if you get even 10 such films a year, I think you're happy because that's, or rather one a month, I think would be better. But like something that it's like the Truffaut quote. I forget the exact quote, but I want to feel either the ecstasy of making films or the sadness, something like that. One of the two. There's two extremes. It's the ones that have no life that really bore you to death because you don't have anything to talk about. So I don't know what that is, but is that at my end?
I think it's from Abhilasha's side.
Oh God, what's happening?
It's fine.
I'll mute myself.
Try to mute it first.
Yeah, so I don't know if I have one answer to that question, but I think every time there's a movie that, luckily this, like ever since my job expanded to reviewing films from multiple languages, if one, I remember when I was in my earlier job, I used to get a little more frustrated because if you're just covering films from one language, sometimes, like Ram said, you have to wait for months before. Like there may be a couple of really bad months before you get a good, halfway decent movie, and that kind of this one. But now because it's across, I'm able to jump from here to there, and there's a lot more variety, and I think that really helps. It's like it's really helped me, my sanity. So
you've heard of Pan India film, now meet Pan India critic.
Yeah. So who didn't pan certain films? So.
Does it help when you get validation from a filmmaker whose film you have reviewed? When you get a validation from the filmmaker when he or she like says, "I love the review and the way you caught these things, what I tried to do."
See, there is that instantaneous ego massage, of course. But just like you don't take the negative stuff seriously, you can't take the positive stuff too seriously, because if you give the same person a negative review next time, you know how it's going to be. So it's best to kind of try to be a little zen about it and not take it too seriously. Actually, you can't take this job too seriously. This is like and I know many people who take it way too seriously, like they're changing the world, but it's like it's your opinion, and your opinion, you don't, like Ashamira said, you don't live in a vacuum, right? So you're coming at it with the weight of your worldview, your opinion. You're hopefully giving something interesting, a good, interesting take about a movie. That there's no right or wrong in that, But today everybody wants right or wrong, and I think that becomes a problem, because I remember Ram writing to me when I liked Baby. Or was it somebody else? I don't know who it was.
It was me.
It does it show some odd behavior? Sure, but then these are fictional characters in a movie, and you do know people who do weird things in the name of love. So it's like I don't know. It's just like all these things about. Anyway, that, because I guess it's irrelevant for me to talk about it because I don't go into social media that much. But to answer your question, I think anything that makes you feel either way, which, see, basically, I think movies should make you feel. It's like most of the mega movies, they're just so empty, and you come out of them like without real like having felt anything, like you're not moved. I'm not even saying like I want to be entertained. When I look at a James Bond movie, I love it because the stunts are so like interesting and inventive, whereas when I see a lot of the Indian movies where the big action hero thing happens, the stunts are boring. It's like they're just doing the old dishum all over again. It's like, how many times do you see that? That saps your soul actually, because you have all that money and then you're making this. Whereas the money really shows up on screen. It's like, and it's a bit like being taken for granted, because like now if I want, I can see a Mission Impossible, I can see a James Bond, I can see anything, and then I choose to see this, and this is all you give me. It's like that. I think the action scenes in Indian movies need serious improvement. Right? Like that's one part. I don't know why we don't do better action scenes, but there's total lack of imagination in that. And one more time you see somebody flying in slow motion because of the punch that somebody has delivered them. It's like, oh my God, not that again. Just like, earn your money, guys. Just do something interesting. So
I feel like we're all still talking about the same film, but we don't want to say it.
Yeah, see, as someone who likes
I'm
Salar,
talking about the first.
Half of Salar? Yeah. No. Okay.
No, I'm talking about 12th Fail.
Okay,
I'm talking about that massive action scene in 12th Fail when Vikrant Massey beats up the whole town, the whole neighborhood after he doesn't get the pass marks, right? Remember
just
that?
Just before the interval, yeah.
The mask.
Just before the interval, yeah. So I'm very sorry, guys. I fixed up a meeting for 8, thinking that this was at 6, so I've got to leave. But thank you so much, and thank you, Nona. Pleasure as always, and everyone else. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon, and I will catch up with the rest of this conversation on YouTube. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining at your time.
Bye.
Vishal, sir?
See, I'll add to what
Go ahead.
I'll add to just point to what BR sir said. He said that he's looking for a feeling, right? That's exactly how I process films. See, there is this all-time favorite quote of mine in Mank that I keep telling everyone. I think Mayor says that quote in Mank, that cinema is one such weird business where the consumer is not getting anything for his money except for a feeling.
Yeah.
The one who is making the product, he still owns the product. We as consumers, we are not getting anything out of it except for a feeling. Films are all about feelings to me. You have to feel something at the end of the day. That's it. And if you feel something, I think it's a good film. At least like it's an interesting film. Like that feeling can be anything. It can be disgust, can be anything, but you have to feel something, man. The problem with the mid films is that you don't feel anything.
Okay. Vishal, sir?
Or the films which you don't feel anything are the mid films, to rephrase.
Okay.
No, sorry. What was the question that you asked it 20 minutes back? I've got into a lot of different tangents in my head.
Okay.
Vishal's being swag right from the moment he entered. He's just like...
I'm very distracted. I'm sorry. I'm super distracted, but now I'm back. Was it a moment or a movie that made me fall in love with my job?
You saw in 2023 that made you fall in love with what you do?
Even now, I think like Josh was talking, I think it's still Nanpagal for me. And it's kind of sad, right? Because I watched the movie in late December or January, okay? But I was just thinking about, this year and this is a year where 80% of my time I spent doing videos. But then in terms of a movie, in terms of, like 2 weeks back, I remembered a point I forgot to write in that review.
Yeah.
So that means for 8 months or 9 months, I'm still thinking about it somewhere, right? Not that I've probably seen it once after watching it for the first time, So, I don't think there's been many other movies. There's another Malayalam movie that you guys should watch called Artam when you guys get a chance to. That's probably one of the other brilliant films that I've seen. But apart from that, only in Nanpagal and the pace of it, I'm still thinking about it. It's the last review I wrote that instilled the faith in me that I still want to continue writing. Otherwise we've all become such YouTube people or whatever, right? That you think, what is the point of writing? 50 people read it. Like, you feel all the relevance is on YouTube, right? But then it's writing that review, taking time to write that review. It kind of got me that feeling that that certain things can only be written. Like if you're in front of a camera and if you talk, you're not going to be able to convey what you want to convey about those kind of feelings, those kind of movies.
Yeah, I think when you said
taking on from just following on that, I think what Vishal said answered your earlier question, Nona, about when everything's releasing at once. I think the value of a good story is a lot more apparent because anything that stays with you, forget like 3 months, like 1 month, 2 months, in which time you have seen 20,000 things now more than ever. It just tells you the value of a good story stays with you a lot more. The things that you still think about now that you saw maybe in Feb or March or whatever. That's how you know that this really did something.
Yeah, I think when
Sounds
Vishal,
like a polyamory situationship thing. It's been months, but I still remember.
Well, that's something new to discuss with my therapist, but I didn't see that coming. Okay, thank you.
I don't know. It's like you watch so many things and you love so many things. When somebody is like, "What do you actually love?" and then you have 20 things in your mind, right? So it's not monogamous.
Well, I'm envious of you, Abhilasha. Mine is the opposite. I'm not in love with any movie this year. It's just the 3 or 4 things that I still remember.
It's been such a blur year, right? I was actually in preparation. I mean, when you sent me that list and I was looking at it and I was just blank. I'm like, what did I even watch this year? And I know I watch at least one film every week. And I'm like, I think on an average at least 2 films every week because I watch multiple languages. So, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I actually see? What are these questions? And I know for a fact that last year was not the same. Like, I had my answers like that, and now I'm like, oh shit, I actually have to sit and think, revisit what I watched. And then,
to my credit, I did change the questions from last year, so I would take that credit.
It was nice. It's like one slam book questionnaire he sent.
No, can I just ask?
Same, I totally agree with Asha because I remember a couple of years ago when I was doing one of those year-end lists, right? Best Malayalam films of the year. I was fighting with my editor saying I need 16 films. I want 16. Tamil can have 10, Telugu can have 10, but I want 16 films. But this year I'm struggling to make it 10. Somehow, reasonably watchable movie, and I'm somehow trying to squeeze into that list.
So has it been a disappointing year for movies, like across industries, do you guys think?
Yeah, overall, yeah, for me at least.
Not for us, to be very honest. Telugu, it's been pretty decent.
No.
I don't know. For me, it's been blur as well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's blur. Like it's just very mid, as Ram was saying earlier. It's neither great nor very bad. So it's just like very,
for me, especially in Tamil. Yeah. Tamil especially was like, by the time I watched those movies which were getting discussed so much, it's so overrated already that I'm like, bro, you're going on about this film, and so that kind of cancelled out 3 movies for me in Tamil. And what do you say? There weren't any major surprises. The huge films kind of disappointed. Very blah year, right? That's the year of the blah in Tamil.
I think Josh was asking on Twitter about Indian films he needs to catch up on, and I was like, where to begin from? And I was like, I don't know any film.
I love the smaller Tamil films that came out this year, like Porthoril and Good Night.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing that happened this year. I mean, all the big films were very, very okay, at least reasonably disappointing.
Ponniyin Selvan 2 was also pretty good. Other films, Dada was good.
Actually, all the smaller films gave a much better experience. It could be Dada, it could be Porthoril, it could be Good Night, it could be Parking, which released recently, Chitta. Yeah, Chitta, and then even the Parking, which was not spoken as much as the other films, I really liked it because it's very grounded, and I really liked how, and it's a very, very usual trope that they've taken. I mean, it's an ego clash thing, which we've seen in multiple films already, and that too very recently. So to take that clash and ground it in a very, very relatable scenario and have it escalate so well and smoothly is actually very solid writing. So but a lot of people didn't talk about it because the rains happened that week. And then it's very unfortunate. But it's actually the smaller films that actually gave you a better experience rather than the big films this year. Yeah.
Good
But-
Night and Dada were one of my favorite films of the year, and I'm very envious of the middle of the road films that come in Tamil. The industry does it very, very well. It's politically
You're
incorrect
talking to
say.
someone whose industry is the king of it. You know, Malayalam. Malayalam is like Tamil is still way, way, way behind when it comes to Malayalam in terms of that. You know, making feel-good films or making films that are seemingly apparently about nothing, but they give you such a beautiful experience. So yeah.
Yeah, but Malayalam leans a little towards that indie parallel side, right? Like, I feel like Tamil, the middle of the road cinema in Tamil is more accessible. Even Malayalam is pretty good, but I mean,
Let's
both are
not
great.
get in that debate. Okay,
For me,
I
it's
think
like Telugu is mainstream, Tamil
Yeah.
is like middle of the road, Malayalam is indie, Kannada is like once in a while I watch something, that's all.
okay.
Voltage.
A lot of comments coming. Okay. Anyways, I think one thing this year happened that it was a comeback of the theaters because there's so many films that so at the box office. Theaters are packed. So I want to ask you all your best theater experience of the year. I'll start with Josh.
So my non-triple R experiences of the year were mostly at festivals. And I hope you at some point get an opportunity to see the film in a theater. There's a movie from the U.S. called Hundreds of Beavers, which is supremely dumb. It's a black and white, dialogue-free sort of Buster Keaton-esque comedy about a beaver trapper in the olden days, and it's an hour and 40 of just nonstop gags, but they're hilarious gags, and it's very, very creative. It was made on a shoestring budget. A lot of it mostly shot on green screen, but just the audience was so in sync with what the film was trying to do that everyone just went nuts. It was absolutely hilarious. I happened to be luckily at the world premiere of Evil Dead Rise. That was a great day. It was a great day in the cinema. I haven't really had that kind of experience in an Indian film this year, just because, and I'm sure you guys will be aware of this. It's that the audiences weren't great in a lot of films. Like I'm a huge Rajinikanth fan, and so I went to go see Jailer on opening weekend, and just ready to be excited and cheer and the whole bit. And the person next to me had brought, their whole family, which is great, but they also had like their whole like an entire dinner in a purse that was heated, and their kids were like watching things on their iPads on full brightness next to me, and they're just running up and down the aisle. And I just want to I want to yell at the screen and not at these small children that you brought to the theater. So I think something like Patan, something like Jawan, like those, and again, like Suchin, I'm a big SRK fan. So anytime he does something, I can't wait to go see Donkey in the next couple of days here.
You can wait.
When he does, but those kind of films, like I'm all about it. Like if a hero film is done well and they understand the assignment and they accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, I don't really care how deep the story goes in most cases. I think, Jawan especially was just so on the nose with everything that it was trying to do, but it knew that, and it wasn't trying to be anything other than that. And I enjoyed it. That was a really good cinema experience for me. I haven't had that kind of, obviously with the movies I've been working with over the last year or so, there's a different expectation there. But being in the theater for something like Jawan or Patan or a film of that type, there is a certain expectation going in that you know what you're getting into. Like, I know if I go to the first day for a show of this movie that it's going to be a party. And it's part of the reason why I didn't review those films. I didn't write about those films after just being a paying patron to go in and see them, because I know my experience is colored by what I bring in. I know my experience is colored by the audience around me. And there are times where that can sort of seep in. I'm generally pretty good at boxing myself off critically in those kind of screenings, but sometimes it gets to you. And you go back later and you're like, ooh, maybe that movie wasn't as good as everyone around me made me feel like it was, But yeah, I mean, Hundreds of Beavers and Evil Dead Rise were the two top non-working cinema screenings that I went to all year.
Okay. Ram?
For me, first half of Jailer, I was watching it in...
Because only that half had subtitles.
Watching it in Bombay, PVR in Bombay, and I was just rooting for Nelson, okay, because I had hated Beast, but I love Nelson's films, Doctor and Kolomagul. I was really rooting for this man because of all the trolling and all. So I was like, this man has to deliver it. So the first half, I could see that everything was working for me in the first half. Like every moment was landing. The first half was written beautifully, was shot brilliantly. It was like, so I remember when the interval card came up, when Rajini sits down and Ramya Krishnan and this daughter-in-law stand up, I lost it in the theater. And I was screaming in the theater that Nelson is back. And the lights went up and people were clapping for at least 2 minutes. The lights came up, people were still clapping and cheering in a Mumbai multiplex. Jailer, I would say that. And okay, there's this film called Dasara in Telugu.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. It's a decent film. It's a good film. Have my issues with it, but I remember the theatrical experience of this. I remember the theatrical experience of that film so vividly because I watched it in a theater called V Epic in Sulurpeta, which is a town near Andhra Tamil Nadu border, and it is such a huge screen. It's a massive screen. It is as big as any IMAX screens I've been to. But the crowd that you get there, it's the local massy crowd. So it's like you're getting the best of both worlds. Okay, it's an amazing theater. The sound is amazing. You can feel the vibrations on the armrest. Okay, the sound is that amazing, and then you have the crowd going berserk for every little moment. Okay, that is one experience that was amazing. And then I watched John Wick 4 and Evil Dead Rise with my dad. John Wick 4 was on a pixel screen, and I've never seen him get excited as much as he got. And he loved the film, and he, on the drive back to home, he was saying what Baddy sir was saying. Why don't our guys do action like this? Why is it just the dishum fighting that we have been watching since the 80s and 90s? So seeing him excited with John Wick 4, that was amazing. These three come to my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Vishal sir?
No, for me, surely Jawan.
Okay.
Because I'm a Shah Rukh fan, not because of Dilwale and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. I'm a Shah Rukh fan because of Basigar, Dar, Anjam, Duplicate, those movies. Okay, so I can't remember. I remember feeling that love for him maybe during 20 minutes of Rise or something like that, but I'd forgotten what it was to love that man. You get it?
Wow.
Of course, leave all the Twitter things because you're not really sure if how much of that is real or how much of it is generated and all that. And so apart outside the hype and the love people have for him on Twitter, it's exactly like the ending of Ratatouille, right? Something when I was watching Jawan, when he just kind of that entire spear scene in the first 5 minutes, it's like 1994 Vishal was just hooked, because I love him before I love like so many like relatives and superstars and all that, right? So all that just came back for me, and I think I watched Pathan with Asha, no? Like I think we saw it together, no? And Pathan was a major disappointment, apart from that that first scene, that helicopter escape or whatever. It's pretty like ordinary movie for me. But this is like, I mean, if I were to make a movie for Shah Rukh, I would have made Jawan. And I'm not that creative, so exactly. So exactly the movie I ever made is like Jawan. So it was such a childhood like joy that I got from watching that movie.
Sachin?
Yeah.
I was stuck between Jawan and Pathan. It's weird. I feel like they're almost like for me, Pathan really worked for me. They're almost like a really good double bill because like when we saw Pathan, like we hadn't seen Shah Rukh like that. And once you're used to that space, Jawan, like just dosage-wise, it goes to another level. But I'm gearing more towards Pathan because I just remember that feeling, that 6 a.m. show. It was so many emotions coming back together. We hadn't seen Shah Rukh in so long. We hadn't seen him like that. There's so many emotions going through, wanting to root for him, everything he's been through. There's all that stuff just like stuck in that. And then you see that entry scene he has, and your brain is just blown. So yeah, I think Pathan it felt like a moment, something shifted. And then Jawan just like, just escalated that. So I'm tempted to choose Pathan. I think the best theatrical experience I had, but it was solo viewing at home because I missed it in theaters, was Jailer. I really wish I watched in theaters. Ram never invited me, but like, holy shit, I would have loved to have watched that because I was like losing my mind at home. And the only other two I'd add to this, which are Mami films, like festival films, is two political-based documentaries I saw at Mami, which was While We Watched and Indra's Emergency, which is Vikram Aditya Motwani's documentary. And it's really weird. Like, they're some of the most powerful collective experiences I've had because it's just so many people, they're all just, it feels like you're sort of watching your own story in some way. And it's very strange to watch those stories with a crowd. Everyone's just feeling the same emotions. And you really feel like you're seeing your own story unfold in a very, very strange way. So, and also you never know if you're ever going to be able to watch these films released. That's what festivals are for. You'll never know if these films will ever see the light of day. So yeah, on a smaller level, I'd mention those, and big screen, Shah Rukh 2023 and Jailer at home.
Jailer without subtitles is great experience. Abhilasha?
For me, RDX actually, which is again, they were like, why aren't we making good action films in India? This is one of those really good action films, and I had so much fun watching RDX. Another film which I don't think many people share this opinion is Beau is Afraid.
Okay.
I don't know, that film just worked for me very much.
It flowed in theaters?
Yeah, it came to theaters, yeah. I watched it in like a packed PVR after work, and I don't know, people were like, this is not working for me. This is like Ari Aster's gone crazy or whatever. And I was like, okay, let me go. I'm a fan. And it was really, really good. Like, even for a new age horror, it was too new age. But I mean, as someone with who's dealt with some form of high functioning anxiety over the years, the movie felt like I could live that movie. Like, that movie it really worked for me. And because I've been reviewing and watching a lot of mainstream works, when I watched something so avant-garde, it was like, oh wow, this is like a treat for me. And I didn't know what was going to happen next. 3 hours I was just sitting and watching, and I'm like, that was a great experience. And of course, Killers of the Flower Moon. Actually, I have a confession to make. This is my first Martin Scorsese film. I watched his interviews and stuff. I love what the man stands for, but this is the first Martin Scorsese film I've watched. So a lot of people were like, okay, this is not his best work. I can't even go into that line of thinking. So I really enjoyed that, every minute of that. I think these days, more and more, I'm appreciating films that are more than 3 hours long. So Killers of the Flower Moon, I went back the next day to the same show and watched it. So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to add one Hollywood title to my list, which I forgot. I think one of the most fun times I've had at the movies this year, Hollywood-wise, is Dungeons and Dragons. It is just one of the most fun films ever. It's really, really funny. It's literally a big sort of blockbuster comedy. I really miss laughing. And nowadays, all we get in comedy is whatever Marvel is trying to annoy us with. And yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is just one of the most like wonderful, full-bodied action fantasy comedy, and I just couldn't stop laughing. And
it's like old school Marvel, right? It's kind of old school
but like,
Marvel.
let's not give Marvel too much credit. But yes, that basically.
But also with that, one more film I was surprised was Wonka, because I didn't know anything. I just went to watch it.
Yeah.
It was such a delight,
And Satyasagara Yellow for me. Yeah, it's right up there. I think I've filled my limit of speaking about the film, but yeah, that is again, a great theater experience, both sides.
Ashamira?
Killers for sure. I think I still remember that frame where oil bursts out, and it's
Sound. Abhilasha.
Yeah. So I remember that, that intro sequence and that frame where the oil
No spoilers.
pops into, and it's just shot like a commercial, like a cola commercial. It's just crazy. And I don't know, visually, experience wise, it was just, I watched this film twice in the same day. I caught the first show, and I went back in the night to watch it again, and it gave me the same experience both times. And it was just, I don't know, it's just one of those films where, again, after having a predominantly Blurr year in the theaters, this Oppenheimer, Barbie, these are the days where you like actually feel that love for cinema again, where you just go crazy talking about that film the entire day, talking about it to everybody you see, even if they're not interested, you'll be like, no, shut up, listen. You'd have no other job than to listen to me. See how they've made this shot, and they'll be absolutely not interested at all, but still, that kind of joy that was there. And then in terms of Tamil, I think it would be Jigardanda Double X, because of what it meant actually. And I think, I'm not sure if all of you felt it, but I'm someone who believes that art holds a lot of value. And that it can change people. And I'm not saying change in a massive, it's going to revolutionize, revolutionize society or life, or not that way, but it does change people in a way that maybe they don't even realize. I know it has for me, and I know I've had a lot of thoughts, a lot of perspectives, and a lot of things that I've done differently because I watched certain films. I watched certain stories, I watched certain people talk about films. So for me, that film felt very personal. And to have a very mainstream film do that and say that, what, art does matter. It's not just entertainment. Entertainment's a big part of it, but it does have, value. It's emotional, it's personal. It's almost like a love letter, right, to cinema. So that really made me. It was very personal. I felt that, like, it hit deep. So that was, again, one film that I watched in the morning, went back in the night, and gave me the same experience both times. So yeah.
Okay.
These two.
I think all these films, but I think for me it was like, a film that is meant to be watched in a theater. It's not like maybe you can enjoy it later also, but was Oppenheimer. And the other one was Spider-Verse for me, because I think that's the only film I always go for second or third viewing with other people with me, so I can take them and see their reactions to what I felt. This was the only film I actually went alone just to watch it again, because I just was mesmerized by what I saw. So those two were really good picks. Now we are coming, at the end of the session. Before coming to the last question, I have to ask any other special mentions for you guys in 2023? Any film, any TV show?
I have a mention. I have. There's a Marathi film called
Valvi.
Baipan. No,
Valvi,
not
no,
Valvi.
okay.
It's called Baipan Bhari Deva. It's
okay.
It's one of their highest grossers.
Yeah.
I used to live in Pune, so I have this special attachment to that culture and those people. So whenever I watch a Marathi film, it's a little nostalgic for me in that sense. And it's a very underrated industry. Very good, sensible films are coming from there. And they're not coming on OTT though. I don't know why. Like Geo Studios is releasing a year after their theatrical release on OTT, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, it's a film about 5 women, 5 sisters from different walks of life. And they grow up, they drift apart because life happens. And then there is this festival called Mangala Gaur, where they have to all come together. It's a festival that sisters take part in, or female relatives take part in. And each woman comes from a different walk of life. She's facing a different problem. And the way it showed women's problems, women talking to each other, beautiful film, beautiful. Like, I didn't feel that during Barbie, which everyone was saying. It's like a masala film for progressive people. That is what it is.
It's a great description for the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it is like the pinnacle of female empowerment films. This is a proper film about women without being preachy. It's just talking about their issues in a matter of fact, normal, and also in a very heartwarming way. I'm really waiting for that film to come out on OTT so that I can like just promote it left, right, and center like I made it. But Baipan Bhari Daiva, which literally means
What's the name of the movie?
Baipan Bhari Daiva. Baipan means women. Like womanhood is hard. Womanhood is like women are a handful, but womanhood is tough. So yeah, it's a beautiful film. I really love that film. So yeah, I'm hoping it comes out on OTT soon.
Okay.
I have 3 quick special mentions. For me, it was Vidutalai, which just typical Vetrimaran gut punch. There's no hope in the world and incredibly powerful. Rocky Rani, I had a blast with.
Yeah.
I thought like for Karan Johar to make a quintessential Kejo film that's also self-aware, that's also exactly what you want, but also updated for the times and doing all of those things, doing it so well. I also think the first half of Rocky Rani is a near perfect rom-com. And we don't make rom-coms here much. And the other one was, I forgot now. Oh, Joyland. It's a Pakistani film. It's on movie. It is incredibly sensitive, incredibly tender. Sort of relationship meets family drama. And it really is one of the most heartbreaking, wonderful films of the year. So yeah.
Anyone else?
So many. So I've been waiting all year to see Poor Things, and I finally saw Poor Things last week. It's wonderful. I don't know how much experience anyone else has with Yorgos Lanthimos, but it's just so delightfully bizarre and unique, and it's what I was expecting, but so much better than I was expecting at the same time. It's going to alienate and has alienated a lot of people already just by the fact that it's experimental, but I fell in love with it. Another a horror film that really hit me was When Evil Lurks, which is from Argentina. It's brutal. It's incredibly violent, but it's got good emotional connection. It's got a great story. It's got characters that you care about. It's got characters that you really care about getting the worst possible deaths, which makes it more impactful, along the way. But it's really, really intense film. Joram is a wonderful film. I've, again, been a fan of Devashish Makija for, since Unga, which I don't know what that is, 12 years ago now. And so every time he comes out with something, I nudge him and I poke him until he sends it to me so I can watch it. And to see this film, it's a logical evolution of his filmmaking and his concerns. You can tell what Devashish cares about, through his work, which is not always the case. But he doesn't make films unless he really cares about them. It's just such a well-made movie. And the fact that he finally got like a real cinema release, for his work is just, if nothing else, I feel happy for him, and the fact that it's a good movie is also great. RDX, which you mentioned earlier, I loved RDX as well. I had to drive out of my way to go see that one, but I'd heard so much about it that I could not see it, and I really, really enjoyed that. Kennedy, I'm working on it, so there's a conflict of interest there, but I really love Kennedy, and I think it's nice to see Anurag pushing back into that zone, because he's been, he loves doing all kinds of stuff. He's like Vikram Mawane. They like doing all kinds of different films, but I feel like this is where his heart is. And when I talk to him, like he loves genre film more than other types of film, and so letting him make a film like that is something that's always enjoyable. So yeah, a lot of those were Bottoms. I don't know if Bottoms ever released in India, but Bottoms is hilarious.
I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. It's really, really great. Surprising films. I was surprised that I enjoyed Barbie as much as I did. I have no emotional connection to Barbie whatsoever. My younger sister had them, but it wasn't anything that was she was more interested in her soccer ball than she was her dolls. So that one, and Saw X was another that I really, really enjoyed. Again, another horror film. I watched all of the Saw movies in advance before that film came out, kind of on accident. I didn't realize there was another Saw movie coming, and then found out later. But there are like 2 good Saw movies out of the first 9, and then Saw X is great. Like it's makes you care about the characters, which if you've seen the films, they're again pretty brutal and pretty gruesome. So the fact that you can make someone care in that context is pretty impressive.
Okay. Anyone else?
I highly liked Talk to Me. Talk to Me.
okay.
I love that film. I mean, it's one of those films that I had no clue about. It was just playing in theaters, like no trailer, nothing. I just walked into the film, and see, when you see films, you draw a line for the film, right? You know that this is where the film will stop the brutality, or you mentally assume that the film won't cross that line. But Talk to Me crosses that line, and it goes into some extremely dark places. So that was quite, I don't get disturbed a lot. I love horror and all, but like Vishal said, as a grown-up guy, I haven't been disturbed. Social horror is what scares me the most.
Yeah.
Something like Vidudalai, something like Visaranai, something that could happen to us, that scares the shit out of me. Fantasy, supernatural, that doesn't scare me that much. But this is one of those films that that lingered and that really disturbed me. And there is this another film, Kannada film called Hostel Huduguru Bekagidre.
Yeah.
That one was yet another film, just crazy film. I mean, the way it plays with the form, it doesn't have a form, which is like the entire deal. It's a crazy film, amazing performances. It's so informal, and I really liked M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. Again, yet another film. You just know that Shyamalan has made it. It's going to be weird, but even that goes into places. I mean, it's a book adaptation, right? I haven't read the book. I'm not at all familiar with it, but that one was also a very big surprise. These three.
I just want to mention few Malayalam film Romancham, 2018. Ila Veda Ponchira. Is that right?
That's last year's film, no?
No, it's in this year. It came this year.
Last year's.
I don't know.
No.
I think it came on Amazon this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Theatrically last year.
Then the Railwayman show, I really enjoyed. I think it's a cinematic brilliance.
It's okay. We're all entitled to our mistakes. So you're entitled to your opinion. It's okay.
Then the Marathi film Valvi and the Malayalam film Purusha Pretam. I think there's some solid.
Purusha Pretam is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so weird and so good. And even Pachuvam Adbhuta Vilakkum, I hope I'm
like
pronouncing it right.
See, I don't know if you can see that, but I still didn't like it.
No, we don't.
We don't.
It's Fahad Fasil, basically. All his characters.
Okay. I love that film. I thought, again, very cute and very sweet film. Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up Romancham, because see, it's a funny film and all, but to me, I don't think there has been a film in recent times that presented male friendships as beautifully as Romancham did. See, every time it is very realistic depiction. Like, that's exactly the point. When we talk about friendships, it's like, I'll give my life to you. I am willing to die for you. It's always on that level when it comes to male friendships in
surface level.
But Romancham is all about the silly things. Like,
I won't even give him a cigarette. Yeah.
I don't want to play volleyball with you, so I'll poke a hole into the volleyball. Romancham was all about the little things.
Details, the little things.
Yeah, the small things, man. So Romancham was, like I said, I can keep talking on and on about the film, but I thought everybody must have heard about it, so I didn't speak. But Romancham it's not just a supernatural comedy to me. It's not just a horror comedy or anything. It's much beyond that. People who will get it will understand it. Yeah.
So
there
I think
I actually want to.
Yeah.
No, you continue.
No, I wanted to add 2 titles purely because they come from genres that we are very familiar with, but then still manage to give a completely new experience. One is Past Lives, and the other is The Hut. Because both, I feel, operate on a very, very familiar ground. Like, where you know what's going to happen. Like, you know what the story is going to be, or who these characters are, or what the trajectory is going to be, but yet the writing and the filmmaking, the craft is so good that you see New York in a way you've never seen before on screen. At least for me, it was that way. And The Hut was also completely how do I say it? It's. I mean, you know who the guy is. You know everything. It's such great open play, and it's actually very hard to keep drama flowing when it's open play, and keep you engaged, keep you invested, and the performance is also great, and I really like how nuanced the characters were, especially for like someone like Gulshan Deviya, the character. I mean, to have that line where and then everything about that series was just great. So these two, I just wanted to say, because I mean, as Josh was saying about some other film, they are everything you expect from the genre, but they somehow are like they end up being extremely better than what you expect. It's like satisfying expectations, also exceeding it, that kind of a thing. So yeah.
From
One
what
thing I want to point
Asha
out
said. Yeah, go on.
Oh, just something we mentioned earlier, something that Batty mentioned earlier about the dashum nature of Indian action and how it all sort of feels samey. I wanted to point out that it hasn't released anywhere yet, but Kill, when Nikhil Bhatt's Kill comes out, that is the movie that people are asking for, that we are asking for. Like it is that sort of down and dirty, gritty feeling, violent, sort of action film with a heart, a bit, but it's something that you. One of the questions that we didn't get to was something about like innovative film, and that was one of the ones that, even though it feels like, when you see it, you will realize that it is born of a tradition that is already exists in the West, and it exists in some other places, something like The Raid or the Indonesian action films that have come out in the last few years. But for India, it is very innovative, and the fact that it was made, and God knows how it'll get released in India based on how violent it is. They haven't gone through the censor board yet, as far as I know. But that's going to be one that I think people are going to be impressed with, where it goes, and how it accomplishes its goals, and it doesn't do the dashum thing. It is a very different type of action film. I just want to point that out. Something to look forward to, hopefully.
Sorry, I had one last special mention as well that popped into my head. The Amazon series Cinema Matte Dam Tak. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's absolutely delightful. It's basically like a touching docu-series meets a hilarious reality show. It's basically about the really sort of cheap and sleazy horror films of the late 80s and 90s. And it sort of follows these 4 yesteryear directors who are these delightful cartoons. You're judging them, you're loving them. You can't believe that this is what they think, movie making is. And it just gives them the opportunity to make another film. It is laugh out loud funny at just how, like, on another planet these guys are, but also you feel for them so strongly, because it's about filmmakers and artists who are trying to find a place in the industry who never felt that they got their due. And at the same time, they're misunderstood, and, just like people trying to make a living. And it's about so much, and it really is so touching and so hilarious and so insanely entertaining. So yeah, Cinema Matte Dam Tak on Amazon is one I wanted to throw out there. Now I'll shut up.
Can you repeat that slowly, please?
Sorry, Cinema Matte Dam Tak on Amazon.
Okay.
It's co-created by Vasan Bala, and it's a hug, and it's hilarious.
Oh.
And so, yeah.
I just want to,
Awesome.
before we take the last question, Ram, are we good? Getting late?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good, yeah.
Here's a bus to catch. So someone has compared Past Lives with 96 in the comments. So do anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, it's a very obvious reference to make, but I don't know. I think it still ends up as being 2 different films and 2 different experiences, and I don't know. If you look at it that way, there's also Blue Jay, and there's so many other films that also operate on a very similar premise. It's just it's easy to say it's 96 of the US, but I would still suggest to go and watch it, because I feel that one of the things that even though I loved 96, one of the things that kept niggling with me is that, these 2 characters have not evolved together. And therefore, to hold such a strong attachment to someone's childhood version that you knew felt a bit, unrelatable to me, even though I understand where that character is coming from, and I understand because it's very common here, right? I mean, it's very common in India to have that sort of attachment, especially to high school sweethearts. But in 96, in Past Lives, these characters yeah, they have a long gap, but I feel their character is much more etched out. I mean, their evolution is much more etched out, and I loved how the other guy is
Yeah.
and
Treated with
that's
so much
actually the
dignity.
best. Yeah, that's actually the best character in the film. So
Yeah.
while 96 also gives that dignity, we don't see him at all, and he's just
Yeah.
in the background where
It doesn't exist. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
yeah, so which is why I feel that they're two very gratifying separate experiences.
Okay. So the last question is the trend you hated in 2023. There were a lot of trends which happened, and I would like to hear from.
No, can you point out a few?
What are the trends?
So one is, a lot of action films.
Roundtables.
Everyone's making action films. The resurgence of, old age heroes coming back, and the one which I don't like is people's idea that if a film has made this many crores, it's a good film. If it's not made money, it's a bad film. And I think
That's not a trend.
it's been happening for a long time.
I
It's
don't
not
think that's a 2023 trend.
Yeah.
That has existed.
It has been the point of conversation, discussion, controversy, criticism, whatever you want to call it, every year.
Yeah.
As long as
But I feel
I know at least for the past 5-6 years.
this
and now
year,
because
we had like so many crores and thousand and whatever numbers we reached. Everyone is just, if the film is not paying 100 crores on the first day, it's a flop.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
that the extreme has happened this year. So
Yeah,
Ram, you'll go
yeah,
last
yeah.
because I know what you think. You'll go last.
No, I am actually going to say a trend I love, not
Yeah,
a trend
sure,
I
sure,
don't
sure.
like.
I'm also
because-
going to say that. Yeah. After you.
No, I actually have one that I don't like also. One that I really like is the fact that there are a lot of 3-hour films that are coming out, both in India and outside, which I really like because as our attention spans keep shrinking, I feel that, these experiences actually are much more gratifying and they're much more give space for investment, and they somehow just feel better, in terms of storytelling and a lot of things. So I'm so glad that a lot of films are touching that 3-hour mark and touching it very well. And I'm not saying that, there's this word that I absolutely abhor, lag. Every time when a film crosses 240 or 230, it'll be second half lag, very slow up, it's very slow. And I really, really hate that word. But these films are actually making 3-hour films that are completely, engaging. Nobody's using those words. So I'm really happy for that. And I hope and I wish that it keeps happening. And one trend that I'm not a huge fan of is, at least in Tamil, there's this, thanks to Lokesh, there's become this habit of using old songs that, in newer films, as background music, as a companion piece of sorts. It's a great idea. I'm not saying it's not something that people shouldn't do, but now it's happening so often that I wonder why we aren't hearing new pieces of music that are as impactful as the old ones are. These are pieces from Ilayaraja and that breed of musicians who composed it 20-30 years back, and now it's being used in a completely unrelated scenario in a situation that's completely not made for it, and it makes so much sense. It's actually elevating that scene much more. We need such pieces now. Why aren't we hearing such pieces? Why aren't we hearing such
talking
music
about
now? So,
the reference music they use, like in Leo,
Not
the song
reference
playing in the
music.
end when they're eating dinner? Is that kind of
no,
music
that's
you're talking
actually
about?
that's a gag.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about stuff like having Karu Karu Karupai, for example. In the cafe
Yeah.
fight, and there's one in Fight Club there's one in Mark Antony. Where there's a song happening behind when he's fighting. There's one in Fight Club where Enjodi Manjakurvi is played when there's an action sequence. I'm not saying it's bad, or I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. It actually works very well, which is why there's this sort of question that comes up with, or there's sort of just wondering, why aren't we making music that's as good now, or why is there less of that? I'm not saying people aren't making it all. Because Jigardanda had great score, absolutely brilliant score that was just scintillating for me this year in terms of Tamil film. So we need more of that, I enjoy the fact that you're using, juxtaposing that retro music here, but too much of it can also be a bit tiring, right? I mean, you really want something that's composed for that scene that can also make that impact. So that's one trend I'm really starting to grow tired of. Yeah.
Okay.
Same, I think what trend I really miss, and I've seen a little bit of it this year, is song and dance. Like we are progressively we are using less and less song and dance in films. And there was, when I watched Tum Kya Mile in Rocky or Rani Ki Prem Kahani, and then there was this Kannada film called Kausalya Supraja Rama, in which there's a song called Preeti Suve, where the couple goes to Kashmir. I don't know, it's really cheesy. It's probably like a very feminine concern to have, but I want more of the songs where people go to Kashmir and dance. I want more of those where like a proper 5-minute song exists, where we have 5-6 of them. They're like 5-6 short films within a feature film, and you can always watch them. They have a much longer shelf life than the actual movie. So I miss music being taken seriously. I want more of that, more songs like Preeti Suve and Tum Kya Mile, and just music, proper music in general. Baby had really good music. So yeah, I want movies which take music more seriously, and I want movies to be less meta. I feel like movies are so meta these days, and it's a much bigger concern in Telugu, because a lot of like memes. You see a lot of these memes in dialogues, and this is a conversation Ram and I keep having, because it's like people should watch movies and make memes. Not the other way around. I wish like that hierarchy is comforting for me. I don't want the hierarchy to be disrupted. I like movies should be a world of their own. I should go and immerse myself. I don't want to watch a movie and then see a meme that I've been seeing 20 times a day in my phone. So
films should dictate the culture and the discourse, not the other way around.
Yeah,
that's happening a lot in Telugu these days.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Vishal, do you want to go?
I think one thing I really missed this year is I think somewhere we're still dealing with COVID time thinking. It's either the huge action tentpole Salah type movies, Jawan kind of movies, or the notion that anything that needs to be made for OTT or whatever supposed to be super dramatic, personal, intense movies. So somewhere in that whole separation where it's either too big or too personal, we've lost out on those tiny comedies, those tiny happy comedies where it's like they're not made with a lot of money or anything like that, but it's basically to create that group atmosphere in the theater. And definitely, of course, I understand the superstar vehicle and all that, but to laugh with strangers is also equally rewarding. There's no selfishness involved, right? It's not because it's my superstar's movie that's making money or anything like that. When a comedy works or whatever, it's exactly like you're making friends immediately, in the theater. I miss that, I haven't had that experience with a single movie. And I think that's what Romancham did for a lot of people, It's a movie that is about that super silly friendships that we have and that we grow out of. Plus you're experiencing that in the theater while you're watching it, right? So I missed that and completely. Like, I don't think there was a great Hindi comedy this year. I don't think there was a great Malayalam comedy this year. There certainly wasn't a great Tamil comedy.
Tamil comedy, nothing. Man, I'm not Vartapadad Valiper Sangam. I miss Rajini Murugan.
Yeah.
I miss those kind of films.
Josh?
We had...
Yeah.
No, I just added. We had one good Telugu film. See, there were two good comedies in Telugu. One is called Parishan. Since you're not going to ask the question about a film that made you laugh hysterically, I'll plug this in because Vishal is also talking about the same. Two films. One is Parishan, which is this super wacky, super indie, breaks all the rules. It's crazy film. That is Parishan. And the other one is Samajavargam, like the kind of stuff that Vishal is talking about. That simple family comedy. I miss those films, man.
I miss those, 90s Telugu cinema had these comedies. They did not have like very structured screenplay. It was a screenplay was just an excuse for gags after gags after gags. You would have sequences and you would have 12 comedians. In every film they would appear. They were like our Avengers. Brahmanandam and MS Narayana, Dharmavarapu Subramaniam, like all those. And I miss that. I've asked a director, why don't we have those? And it's because, I don't know, the focus is more and more on heroes these days, which is why we are not having those kind of. But I would really love to have more, those have a solid ensemble of comedians who come from film to film. I miss that.
Yeah.
Telugu comedy is gold. I'm sorry, Telugu comedy is the best. So I really miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't there in the 90s, but I started watching Telugu films about, 15 years ago now. And so I do, even then, the hero films would have Brahmanandam and Ali and Venumadav and all these,
exactly.
characters in them. And if for someone who had just stepped into this stuff, it was maddening because I didn't know what was going on. But you start to appreciate it. You see the way things work. In Tamil, you've got people who can do that, but they just aren't doing it as much. You've got Santanam, and you've got
Shivakarthikeyan.
Yogi Babu, who in Jailer was one of the best parts of Jailer. And those guys that just
and also Maviran, Yogi Babu and Maviran.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, how come we haven't spoken about it? Yeah.
That's what. Pura ghar pe.
I do love those things. Unfortunately, for what I do, they're part of Indian films in general that make them a little bit less easy to travel, outside, because that sort of humor is so specific that you really have to know what you're getting into before it starts to make sense. But once you do, it's great, and watching those guys is great.
Again, those songs, those comedy sequences exist as short films within themselves. You can always watch them anytime on YouTube, and you always have a blast. I miss that.
Oh, the combination in Jailer. I can't remember. Of course,
Red and Kingsley. No. Is it the Hyderabad?
The Hyderabad song.
Kavala.
Yeah, it's perfect because it is bringing in that comedy, and it's so perfectly a Telugu film number where it just all of a sudden you're in this other universe where there's 50 white girls and 50 brown boys all dancing together for some reason. Who knows why they're all in the same building? I don't know. I think I've talked about this before. I have a theory. There's a dungeon of 100 white women in Hyderabad where they just pull them out for songs and they just put them back in the dungeon. That's over. Surely there are Indian girls who can do all those same moves, but whatever. It's fine.
Someone just mentioned Falimi. The
very sweet
Basil
movie.
Joseph movie.
Very sweet, but it's in that indie space, Abhilasha's favorite in Malayalam indie space. Like 20 minutes of the movie is like a montage and all that. So
Which movie is this?
Falimi, it's on
Falimi.
Hotstar.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things that is a trend that I'm not a fan of, and I admit to participating in this a bit, is just sort of we've talked about the hero-centric films, but I think that they're just they keep getting more and more alpha. I hate that, but these male characters keep getting more and more alpha. Where everyone in their lives, not only are the women, just sort of set dressing, but everyone is set dressing in those films, and so it's very difficult to get emotional connection to any of them. And I think that there's obviously a good way to do these hero-centric films where they can have these superhero characters who can do things and beat everybody up and all that kind of lovely stuff. But then they are actual people as well, with more than one emotion other than just rage. And I'm keep hoping that there's going to be that sort of nuance that's going to poke its way back in, but as the box office grows for these type of films, it becomes less likely, I think,
there'll be a lot of
for
copycats
that to become the trend.
Josh, you should check out Kausalya Supraja Rama. Have you watched that film?
I have not, no.
Yeah. Again, it's the guy starts out as an alpha, and then he slowly nuance gets added into his life, and he becomes into a more sensitive, sensible person. Yeah, it's a very cute film. It's on Prime.
Very cool. I'll check that out. Yeah. And the other thing is not really a movie thing. It's more about the audience for films, and specifically the audience for those types of films. Is there's come this sort of immediate reaction to anyone who questions that, critics or film fans or whatever. as, you know, oh well, look at how the box office is rewarding these non-woke films. Like, look at how there's this backlash against woke filmmaker or whatever. I'm like, I hate that word, because the minute somebody uses it now, I can immediately dismiss anything else that comes out of their mouth. You know, it's just become such a signifier. It's like no one uses that word in the way that it was created a few years ago, which was to show that, I don't know, maybe other people matter. Like, maybe it's okay to care about people who aren't exactly like you. You know, I feel like that's all it is. Just like caring about people who aren't exactly like you and wanting to see something about them. That's all it really was. And now it's come to be, it's so xenophobic, about the way it's employed these days. And it makes me so cranky. Like, I get angry about it, because like I go to films for the most part. And the reason that I watch Indian films is because I use cinema as a window into other cultures, as a way of exploring the way other people live and experience the world, or the things that entertain people who aren't me. Because I know what I like. I know what my life is like. Like, it's lovely to have representation, and I get that. But I want to be, I don't make a whole lot of money. I can't travel the world. Like, I don't do all that kind of stuff. So my experience of much of the world is through cinema and through art. And so that requires some kind of empathy for the people that are on screen, and the fact that woke is like the woke criticism, the criticism of woke whatever, is anti-empathy. It's anti that, and that just makes me crazy that people can look at art that way. It just makes me nuts.
Yeah.
I have a few quick ones which I'll just rattle. I don't know if these are trends, but I want to just vent for a second. The first one is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just shut up, like, we're tired.
They kind of died this year. They kind of died.
Guys, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was good.
Was the last good one, or the only good one, and the rest of it was all just like homework or exhausting, or just shut up. Something that annoys me in my world of streaming shows is remakes. It's 80% of what Hotstar does. They take Hollywood show, it's remake after remake. The next big show releasing in Jan on Hotstar is a remake of a popular US show. Just that the worst show is nobody's trying to adapt them. It's just terrible. Cinematic universes, it's sort of the new pan-India thing for us. It's not been enough that we're tired of it yet, but I think maybe just because Leo was disappointing and Tiger 3 was pointless, you already feel like, more for Tiger 3 than Leo. It feels like a proposal, and then you get scared.
I want to add to Tiger 3, I felt because they marketed it as a, following the events of the 3 films as the next installment of the universe, I think it was more disappointing. But if you look at just as a Tiger 3 film, I think it worked really well for me. I really enjoyed it.
You're right. It is. It's still bad in both ways. You're right. Yeah. Even as I agree with you.
And it's also like franchises are a form of writing procrastination. I don't know. Like Salar wasn't supposed to be a franchise. Then they wrote the first half is just bait to second half. Second half is the bait to some other film. Even Leo was like, "Arey, flashback is fake. You have to wait for another film." While they were shooting it, they announced a second part. There was one comment by Jodie Foster about franchises where she's like, this is like a form of fracking. And it does feel that way increasingly,
Someone said recently about cameo porn, where it's just so cool to bring someone and make them have a cameo, and then the entire movie set. And that's also happening a lot. And people are making things into franchises so that they can have cameos by other stars.
Hollywood is bringing people from the dead to give cameos in the movies.
So they can have cameos and they can get away with incomplete writing. And I'm like, no, I came here for one complete experience. And then you can easily say if one movie does not work out for you at the script level, you're like, no, this is just for world building. Agla film dekh lo abhi.
I was going to say, Mark Anthony brought someone back from the dead also.
What?
Yeah.
Mark Anthony brought back Silk Smitha from the dead.
Yep. For completely useless
India's on the cutting edge.
But speaking of cameos, the other thing that annoys me is that one of the things we liked about Marvel when it was great was the cameos, right? Or the characters you didn't see coming. That's such a massive high moment. It's an elevation moment in a movie. Here, if you have a truly big cameo, it's in the news the day before, right? Yeah. You cannot have Hrithik in Tiger 3 and enjoy it. Even when we saw special thanks to Rocking Star Yash and Salar, you're thinking maybe, but So that,
Exactly.
but they'll always put it either it's in the news, so it's dumb, so you'll never enjoy it, or they'll say special cameo at the very start of the movie. So God forbid they have an actual great
Vikram
cameo
had
one
that.
day.
Vikram said thanks to
Surya.
Surya.
Yeah,
No, it had
But it got
special
leaked. Yeah, it got
appearance.
leaked
News was
also.
leaked by then.
Yeah, it was leaked.
yeah. So okay, leak is different, right? But when you announce it, because they try and do to sell tickets, because I mean with Tiger 3 they were desperate. Because like in all honesty, Sanjay Dutt in Jawan is not making me hoot in my seat.
Yeah, no. I
Right?
was
And
like,
that
huh?
was given to me.
I was expecting
like,
Vijay. I was really expecting
to
Vijay,
add
and I'm
on
like,
to that-
huh?
Yeah. To add on to that, I really wish Bobby Deol's casting was kept a secret.
Yeah.
I think Vanga said
I
that he
tweeted it
wanted to
also.
hide it,
Yeah,
but
after
it is
that, yeah.
impossible nowadays because of social media.
Imagine not knowing that there is a villain in the film, because
Yeah.
I really don't think.
No, bro. Bobby Deol.
No, I'm not going to say that, but for a film like Animal, where the guy itself is an anti-hero, you really don't need a villain for your promotions, right? Imagine sitting in the theater and after 2 hours you are getting Bobby Deol. Imagine
Even
that.
though Bobby Deol had the same amount of time in the trailer as he did in the film, so that's like.
But Vanga, I think in the interview said that he actually
think you're
shot
doing that-
backstory
you're
for
doing that
Bobby
in
Deol's
hindsight.
character, but they couldn't complete the CG and everything, so they removed it out.
Release the Vanga cut. No, that's not it.
That's happening in the chat right now.
No, but you cannot release unreleased. Like you can't do that. Directors, you can't release uncut version on Netflix anymore, right? Yeah, not
I mean, like, you
anymore.
need to get it censored again, but if they want to go for it, they can.
Even the censor board is watching Animal twice.
See,
Okay, no.
when it's Atmanirbhar Bharat, censor board will allow it, so it's fine.
Oh, that's another trend, that does not sit well with me. There are one too many. See, I'm a very patriotic person. Which is why it annoys me more when I see patriotism just being used as bait in cinema. And you're like,
So
okay.
Tiger 3, there was one moment in the climax. I was like, I thought we were past this. This is not 2019, guys. Come on.
Can I say Donkey had one of the greatest patriotic moments ever? Like the way they,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen, the way they use the national anthem in that movie is one of the
The
best.
train
gags.
scene, right?
Yeah. So again, it's.
I mean, like, are you being sarcastic or is it really good?
serious? It's like it's a sort of a play
But
on
most
it.
of these Bollywood films, they are so dry and flat, and then they just come with they put one patriotic element in it, and they're like, "Ab dekh lo bhai, deshbhakti hai, dekh lo,
Enough
puri
about
attack
Akshay
dale
Kumar
hum log."
No, but don't you think it's everywhere? It's outside movies.
Yeah.
Patriotism, I think they're using it to sell products also. It's become earlier. I think it used to always just be limited to movies and anniversary 50 years of India, 75 years of India. But now it's become like Kajaria tiles. I was just seeing in the airport. It is about
Desh ki mitti se
tiles
bani
that's
so.
made with
Desh ki mitti.
Desh ki mitti. Yeah. What is the relevance?
Yeah.
See, if you introduce Akshay Kumar, I think Akshay Kumar is genius because he comes in front of every film. Hey, Fufu kya kar raha hai? Like every film is Akshay Kumar, so he'll never be out of relevance.
He's the Johnny Sins
He's
of
in every
cameo
movie.
porn.
He's before every movie.
I think we have been. I think our time has come because we have been called woke critics in the chat.
Ayyo.
So finally, I think it's time now. People have been. What? I missed that.
I said introduce them to Ram.
Vishal, say that again.
Okay, so people have been watching you. They know, most people know you, but some may not, and they have been listening to all of you, and they're like, I want to listen to them more. So one by one, all of you introduce yourself, and guys, you can find the links to the social media profiles in the description. So we'll start with Ram.
Hi, my name is Ram Venkateshwar. I cover Telugu cinema for Film Companion South.
Okay, Abhilasha.
Okay. Hi, my name is Abhilasha. I am a resident critic for the Hyderabad Bureau of the New Indian Express. I primarily cover Telugu cinema. I am a print journalist, but I also occasionally do video. You can follow me on Hyderabadi at Instagram and Twitter.
And you can watch your roundtable. Your Telugu
Yeah. Plug that, no?
Yeah, my Telugu directors roundtable, Game Changers roundtable is out today. So yeah.
So today, okay.
Yeah.
On what YouTube channel? Express Cinema, right?
Cinema Express.
There you go. Cinema
Yeah.
Express.
Does it have subtitles?
The subtitles
Soon,
will be
soon,
out.
soon.
Soon.
I heard the word bureau and it feels so. Oh my god! It's like
Actually, people don't call it bureau in their own office. They call it center, and I'm calling it bureau so that it sounds cool. Like we're like in one espionage film, Hyderabad Bureau.
Sachin, sell yourself.
I'm Sachin. I cover streaming for Film Companion on YouTube. Film Companion's YouTube channel. Yeah.
Cool. And about what your podcast?
Oh, yeah. I have a podcast called The Streaming Show on Spotify.
You're doing
This
a
was
great
on
job.
Top 10 of Spotify or something, right? Which was recently listed on.
I don't like this game anymore. There's a podcast. Fine.
Josh.
Humble.
Hi, Josh Hurtado. I write for Screen Anarchy, all kinds of reviews, not just Indian films. I also work now kind of in marketing and publicity and distribution. There'll be more on that coming, hopefully in the next year. And you can find me on Twitter mostly. Everything else is pretty locked down. I gotta keep some stuff to myself. But Twitter is open. You can find me there.
Asha Mira?
Hi, I'm Asha Mira, and I freelance for a lot of people. I do interviews, video reviews. Now I predominantly review for JFW Binge, but I do write a lot of stuff on social media. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Asha Mira.
Vishal sir?
Hi guys, I'm the editor of Film Companion South. I work once in a while, not more than that.
And guys, I'm Nona Prince. You're watching this on my channel. Thank you for that. So first of all, thank all of you for giving your time for this. I know it has crossed the time I said, but thank you for staying till now and having a great discussion, making this a great discussion. And I want to thank the audience for sticking around, watching, leaving your thoughts in the comments. I couldn't take the questions. Sorry for that, but thank you for that. And I just want to point out something that I know I'm getting a lot of questions. Why not this guy is there? Why not that person, this person, that person? I want to take a credit. It's a very hard job to, assemble everyone. And, I tried my best to do. And last time, I think we had 10 people, this time less people. But I think if you get too many people, then it's become a khichdi and nothing happens. So
Yeah.
I tried my best. Thank you. And thank all of you.
Good,
I
you
hope.
did good. You did well. Yeah.
Thank you to
Thank
Thank
whoever
you for
was-
having me over.
Yeah, thanks.
This roundtable is always
Thanks
fun.
for having
Thank
us,
you so
yeah.
much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
I
thank you
hope
for having me.
everyone had a great time.
Yeah, I think at
Happy
least
New
the
Year.
four of us know the trouble of arranging a roundtable. So
Arey,
you asked us for a roundtable.
Ram didn't talk
We will
about what
always,
your
always
trend.
help.
Ram, your trend.
I
You
don't
hate
know.
it.
Same. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, next year he'll answer that. Thank you guys. Bye. Good night. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Tada.
Guys. Bye.
You guys.
Merry Christmas.